Hello everybody. Today our lesson is about Venn diagrams. This question appears in your English paper 2, question number 14, especially in grade 10 and 11. You will get 10 marks for this question. First, I will give you a brief introduction about it. Then, you will identify a Venn diagram in details. Next, you will learn how to use a Venn diagram. Finally, I am going to teach you how to write a Venn diagram. Let's start our lesson. These are the Venn diagrams. I think you will get an idea about it by seeing these pictures. But what is really a Venn diagram? A Venn diagram is a visual tool used to compare and contrast two or more objects. We call them sets. It is often used in language and mathematics classes to organize differences and similarities. It consists of overlapping closed curves, usually circles. Each circle represents a set. These sets are represented by using circles. Now look at these pictures. The first picture shows a set. The second picture shows the overlapped area. We call it intersection. The third picture has three sets and we call the overlapped area triple intersection. The elements of the sets are labeled within the circles. Now look at this Venn diagram. There are two subsets, set A and set B, and the intersection shows the similarities of both set A and set B. Likewise, differences are shown by the areas where there are not overlapping. That means the elements of set A and elements of set B are in the areas where there aren't overlapping. When we take an example, there are two sets. One set shows lions, the other one shows deers. The similarities between two animals are both live on land, both are animals. When we consider differences, lions are carnivorous, deers are herbivorous. Okay, children, I think you have got an idea now. Let's look at the language and grammar we use here. Introduction. We can say this Venn diagram shows. This Venn diagram represents. This Venn diagram depicts. Next, for the second point, we can say the above Venn diagram shows the results of a survey conducted by. The above Venn diagram represents the data of a survey done by. The above Venn diagram depicts the details of a survey done by. Language we use here. We usually use and only, and o conjunctions to link the ideas here. Examples only. There are 5 students like to read folk tales only. And there are 7 students like to read short stories and folk tales. And only there are 5 students like to read folk tales and novels only. Oh, there are 20 students like to read short stories or poems. Triple intersection. 3 students like all the 3 types of books. Now, we move to the description. We can start by using these phrases. We can use according to the given data, we can say. Next one, by using the above data given, we can describe the data as follows. Next one, when considering the data as a whole. Conclusion. Our last paragraph is about conclusion. Here you remember not to write your personal idea, but you can add the general idea of the given Venn diagram. You use only 1 or 2 sentences for the conclusion. Question. There are 40 students in Sumit's class. He conducted a survey in his class to find out about the different kinds of storybooks his classmates would like to read. He recorded the results in the following table. Now look at the table. Kind of story, number of students. Number 1, adventure stories only 2 students. 2, adventure and detective stories only 6 students. 3, folk tales only 1 student. 4, folk tales and detective stories only 14 students. 5. Adventure stories and folk tales only 9 students. 6. All the 3 types of stories 3 students. 7. Detective stories only 5 students. Here's the Venn diagram. You can see the details I have said before are included here. Look at the diagram. Adventure stories 2 students, detective stories 5 students, folk tales 1 student. When we compare adventure stories and folk tales, there are 9 students. When we compare detective stories and folk tales, there are 14 students. When we compare adventure stories and detective stories, there are 6 students. There are 3 students who like to read all the 3 types of books. Let's write the Venn diagram now. Introduction. This Venn diagram shows the results of a survey conducted among 40 students in Sumit's class about the different kinds of storybooks they would like to read. There are 3 types of books, such as adventure stories, detective stories, and folk tales. Second paragraph. There are 2 students like to read only adventure stories, while 6 students like to read both adventure stories and detective stories. There is 1 student likes to read only folk tales, while 14 students like to read both folk tales and detective stories. There are 9 students like both adventure stories and folk tales. There are 5 students like to read only detective stories. All the 3 types of books are read by 3 students. Third paragraph. According to the data, we can say that the most number of students like to read detective stories. The lowest number of students like to read only folk tales. The number of students who are interested only in adventure stories is more than the students who are interested only in folk tales. Last one. The number of students who like to read only folk tales and adventure stories is less than the students who like to read only detective stories and folk tales. Conclusion. As we consider the given data, we can say that the detective stories are the most favorite storybooks of these children. Okay, children, I hope you have understood the lesson. Study it well and try to answer the question number 14 Venn diagram. Thank you.